So, I'm Chana Pfeifer, and I just wanted to share an appreciation for Leora and Igor, who are courageous to be vulnerable, to allow themselves being taped. I really appreciate your dedication to each other, and to take the chance to share this with other people so that perhaps they can also have dedication and work on their relationships to connect. So we are being taped right now. And I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that we are being taped. So are you okay with that?
Yes.
And Leora, you're okay with that too?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a live session, Imago session, and this is what it looks like in my office. This is, I know Igor and Leora, you have worked on this yourselves, you've taught it yourselves. So this is really a snapshot of what it looks like. So for me, we're going to do it a little bit differently. What we're going to do is we'll start off with a brief meditation so that you can be in a calm and non-reactive way. And I would encourage everyone to do this as well. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and start to breathe in and out of your nose. Just noticing what that feels like, noticing your mind wandering, and just feeling that breath as it goes in and out of your nose. Trying to do it as slowly and as deeply as you can. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, while you're breathing, I'd like you to notice what you feel, an emotion, if possible, what you're feeling as we're starting our meditation. Could be even something tired that's more phenomenological. If possible, an emotion, and if not, that's okay, but something that I'm feeling as we're starting our meditation right now. And once you have that, I'd like you to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, how intense it is. I'm feeling calm. I'm feeling anxious. And 0 is not at all. 10 is through the roof. So what I'm feeling right now as we're starting and what number that is. Just take a few breaths with that. Breathing in and breathing out. And now we're going to go through some of the guided meditations so you can pay attention to sensations in your body. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take your hands and tighten them into fists and just tighten them and squeeze them. Squeeze those hands as tight as you can while you're trying to breathe in and out of your nose. Breathing in and breathing out. And now I want you to gently open your hands and notice sensation-wise what you're feeling in your hands. Are you feeling tingling? Are there imprints of your nails in your palms? And just breathe and notice what you're feeling in your hands as you're continuing to breathe. Breathing in and breathing out. And noticing if your mind is wandering and just gently noticing that, and it's perfectly fine. And trying to pay attention to your hands the best that you can. And now I want you to take your shoulders and lift them up towards your ears like earrings, all the way up, and then bring them back towards the wall, and then just let them drop. And notice what you're feeling in those shoulders. Maybe they're feeling tight. Maybe they're feeling cranky. And just breathe and notice what you're feeling in your body, in your shoulders, particularly right now. Breathing in and breathing out. Maybe even noticing the air is a little bit cooler as it enters your nostrils. And maybe it's almost invisible as it exits your nostrils. And noticing maybe if this is hard, keeping your eyes closed and breathing, and that it's all okay. And doing the best that you can just to sit with your body the way it is. Breathing in and breathing out. And last phenomenological thing that I want you to notice is what you see behind your closed eyes. Is there more dark? Is there more light? What colors and textures do you see as you're continuing to breathe? Breathing in and breathing out. All right. And now I want you to keep your eyes closed and to think about an appreciation for each other as a partner. So, not having to do with a parent or a colleague, but as each other's partners. So, one thing I appreciate about you could be something little, could be something big. So, one thing that I appreciate about you as my partner. Take a few moments and breathe that in and out. When you have that appreciation, I want you to move on to an appreciation about yourself in your relationship as a partner. So it could be something either that you did or that you didn't do, a stretch. I felt like yelling yesterday and I didn't. I really stretched into being present today. Again, it could be from a long time ago, could be from today. So, one thing I appreciate about you, and one thing I appreciate about myself as your partner. And when you have both of those things, I want you to keep your eyes closed and just notice what feeling you have in your body before we end our meditation. So, noticing, is it the same feeling as you started off with? Is it a little different? Is it, I feel calm? I feel more anxious? And just noticing that and rating it on a scale of 0 to 10, how intense or how light it is. And before you open your eyes, noticing one thing I appreciate about you, one thing I appreciate about myself, and what I was feeling at the beginning and what I was feeling at the end of this meditation. And when you have all of that, I'm going to ask you to gently open your eyes, taking all the time that you need, breathing in and breathing out. Good. Okay. So, who would like to begin?
I can.
Okay. So, what I would love is for you to share what you were feeling as we started the meditation, what number that was, and then to share what you were feeling at the end of the meditation, if that's okay.
Can you explain the numbering?
Say it again?
Can you explain the numbering? I'm not
Sure.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So numbering, it's an intensity. So very often it's used like on a pain scale. So feeling wise, let's say, so I was feeling a little anxious as we were starting. Actually, I'd say more than a little. So on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being through the roof, I'd say I was feeling about a 7. And if I now I would say I'm feeling about a 4. So it's gone down for me. And so this is something that I haven't tried with you guys. So it's perfectly fine if it's hard to put a number on it. So this is a guide and it's perfectly okay if that doesn't fit. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. Uh, I'm feeling, but I'm not feeling like strong emotions. I
Okay.
feel like that. Like, so should I explain? Should I explain both, like phenomenal?
So if you weren't feeling an emotion, then stay with that. And if there was a phenomenological feeling, then stay with that.
So on this scale of 1 to 10, I'm feeling like a 6 or a 7. I'm feeling kind of nauseous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That kind of stayed the same.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Being pregnant, I can only imagine that deep breathing might not affect that physical sensation of feeling nauseous. Am I getting you?
Yeah, but still is good, so I'm fine. And I'm feeling very at peace emotionally. So that so that's like so in terms of like anxiety, it's like 1, 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you feel at peace. And so in terms of the scale with regard to anxiety, so it's really just like a 1 or 2. You're feeling pretty calm. Am I getting you? Okay, so Igor, and I know this is nice and early for you, so I again appreciate that you're willing to do this. So when we were starting the meditation, what you were feeling, if you remember, What were you feeling? I was feeling.
Well, we started feeling, I would say somewhere around 7, anxiety.
Mhm.
I have a video court conference later this morning,
Mhm.
and so it's weighing heavily on my mind.
Absolutely.
But towards the end of the meditation, I felt like it went down also to about 3 or 4.
Mhm.
I think the more I started feeling just being present,
Yep.
I was able to let go more of what's coming in a few hours.
Yes. And so that really is the goal of this meditation. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it's something to notice, what I'm feeling. And I find the rating it on a scale of 0 to 10, it just helps because then we have a baseline for the future of, like you said, Igor, you felt a little bit less anxious, that you could be more present, that often we don't pay attention to what we're thinking and feeling. And in a relationship, it's so important to share that because otherwise we make up a story, he's not present, what's going on with him, she has this weird look on her face. And when you have that information, it's very, very helpful. So with that, Leora, I would love for you to initiate a dialogue. So I'd like to dialogue with you about an appreciation I have for you. Is now a good time? And you have a very soft spoken voice, and I'm going to ask you to stretch into speaking a little bit louder if that's okay. So if you can make an appointment with Igor, that would be great.
I'd like to express now a good time.
Yes.
The one thing I appreciate about you.
One thing I appreciate about you is that yesterday, when you really wanted to show me logos that you were looking at, and you really wanted my full attention, I was in an overwhelmed state where I was trying to, but I couldn't give you my full attention. And I appreciate that you didn't hold a grudge and you weren't upset that I couldn't give you my full attention.
I mirror that. So what I heard you say.
Here you say is that one thing you appreciate about me. Yesterday I was trying to show you a logo for a project that I was working on, and you were very busy with the kids and you couldn't give me full attention. I didn't hold a grudge. I wasn't upset at you.
Did I get you?
Did you?
Yes.
Ask, is there more? Igor?
Yes, and I wanted to know that I appreciate that I knew it was really important to you and you were really hoping to get my attention for a few minutes. I knew that you were disappointed, and I appreciate that you were able to let it go and not let it affect any feeling between us.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you knew that it was important to me, but you appreciate that I didn't hold grudge and I didn't let it affect the energy between us, that I was able to let it go.
Did I get you?
Yeah.
And so when you were able to let it go, when you were able to let it go, even though I knew you were disappointed, I felt.
When you were able to felt disappointed, I felt accepted unconditionally.
So when I was able to let it go, even though I was disappointed, it left you feeling like I cared about you unconditionally.
Did I get you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there more? So Leora, in terms of feeling accepted unconditionally, is that a familiar place from your childhood? And this is not about blame. This is not about pointing fingers. It's about a felt experience. Did you feel cared for unconditionally, that no matter what you do, no matter how you are, that we accept everything about you? Is that a familiar feeling from childhood, or is that an unfamiliar feeling? So if that touches a point in you, so that what that reminds me of in my past, if that strikes a chord.
What that reminds me of in my past is was making a mistake and feeling more like devastated about it.
So you're discriminating in the past. You used to make mistakes. You felt devastated when that happened.
Yes, if I let someone down.
If you let someone down, you felt devastated.
Did I get you?
Yeah.
Is there more?
There more?
And if not, you could say not for now.
Just that I have a feeling of security in our relationship. Oh, not
So yesterday you felt secure in our relationship.
yeah.
Thank you. So, Leora, one thing I appreciate about myself.
One thing I appreciate is that I've been very supportive of you playing basketball before dinner, even when it doesn't fit in the ideal schedule that I had in mind.
So what I'm hearing you say is that one thing you appreciate about yourself is that you let me do sports like playing basketball outside when it could not. It's not ideal time because let's say it might be family dinner time, and you didn't hold a grudge or get upset.
Did I get you?
Am I getting you?
Yeah.
Is there more?
Um,
And what helps me stretch into being flexible or open is?
what helps me stretch into being flexible is I know how good it is for you to release the tension from the day by playing and how good the physical exertion is for you. So I want you to have that.
Even though it's hard for me, if that fits.
And yeah, even though it's a little bit hard with the timing.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that even though the timing is not so great, you know, you tell yourself how good it is and important that I have some kind of physical outlet and that it's healthy for me.
Am I getting you?
And that's how you're able to make it work in your mind. Am I getting you?
Yes.
So we're not going to ask if there's more for now. So Igor, if you could say thank you for sharing to Leora.
Thank you for sharing.
And Leora, if you could say thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Welcome.
So Igor, now you're up. I'd like you just to connect to Leora's world, and then we'll come to your world. Something that was nice to hear, something I didn't realize, just a one sentence connecting to what she said.
I didn't realize that while I was exercising, I wasn't aware of the extent to which I was affecting you when I go exercise. And it was during family dinner time.
So thank you for telling me. Mm-hmm.
Telling me that I appreciate that you stretched to not be upset at me for making time that you were speaking out with me.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. So now, Igor, I want you to make an appointment to dialogue with Leora about an appreciation you have for her. Go ahead.
Leora, I have an appreciation.
So one thing I appreciate about you, and keep it brief so that she can marry you. Go ahead.
One thing I appreciate about you. Yesterday, I was very tired. I wasn't feeling well, and you let me go to sleep. And you took on yourself to the kids to bed, and I know that's not easy.
So one thing you appreciate about me is that yesterday you were tired and not feeling so well, and I went to bed, and I was left to put everybody to sleep after we came home a little late.
Did I get you?
that?
Yes, you did.
Is there more?
I also felt, that last night, now I realized I also felt like you accepted and loved, judged, that I couldn't help.
Looking back, you felt accepted and loved, and not judged when for not helping that time.
Did I get you?
Yes.
So, Igor, is that a familiar place for you? Is that not a familiar place for you, that in childhood that sometimes you struggled to feel accepted and loved for everything you did? Is that a familiar feeling? If you can reflect back, so what that reminds me of, if that touches a place for you.
That reminds me in my home, there was a lot of expectation for perfection. And with you, I feel like there's a safe place that I don't have to be perfect and I don't have to be worried and anxious all the time if I'm doing things in a perfect way. And that if I couldn't help last night because I was too tired, I won't feel judged by you the way I felt many times when I was young.
Yeah.
So, this feeling that you had in your childhood is your high expectations and you felt like you need to be perfect. So you feel in our relationship you don't have to be perfect. If you're tired and you couldn't help with our kids, then it was okay and it didn't affect the and it didn't affect any tension or feeling between us. Did I get that?
Yes.
Did I get you?
You got me.
Is there more?
Any more?
That's it. No.
No, not for now. So, one thing I appreciate about myself in a relationship as your partner.
One thing I appreciate about it is yesterday I spent a few hours taking care of the things you pull. I know that it's something that's very important to you. And even though it was hard for me to give up all that time from working to take care of it, I knew that it was important to you. And so I stretched myself to take care of you.
Something you appreciate about yourself is that you spent a good amount of time putting out filters to our pool, and you did it because you knew that it was important to me. And even though it's really time from your work, but you knew that it was important to me, so you did it. Did I get you?
Yes.
Is there more?
I just want you to know that it was a stretch for me to give up that time. When now, anytime that being with the kids home all the time, and it's hard to give up that time that I had available for working and to trade it to take care of it. But I recognize its importance because I know it's important to you. And I would just want you to know that it was a stretch for me, but I want to do it for you.
So you wanted to make sure I understood that this was really a stretch for you, because you really like to keep the time available to work and any time available to you, and you used it to do something else that was important to me. So, did I get you?
Yes.
Is there more?
That's it.
Not for now. Thank you. So you did a beautiful job of really giving specific and deep appreciations, which could be seemingly, what's the big deal? But again, it goes deeper. And what's amazing to me is that both of you feel this deep feeling of being loved and cared for, and that's not necessarily accepted, if I'm getting you. That in childhood, whether it was feeling like you made a mistake, or that you had to be perfect, and that each one of you is instead feeling really seen and heard in your relationship. So pretty amazing. And also this stretch of one thing I appreciate about myself, just like Igor expressed that he didn't know that playing basketball, during dinner time was a big deal to you. It's so important for him to know that so that he can choose, okay, so it's really important for me to play basketball and release my stress. And, or maybe I'm going to do it before or later, the same as he stretched into, during work hours, trying to take care of the pool because that was important to Leora. So again, that's clear communication, a beautiful demonstration of that. So thank you. So now we're going to move into what I call as meat and potatoes. So this is a frustration. So one thing I just realized I didn't do, and Leora, it'll be your turn, is just to connect to one thing that Igor said, something I didn't realize, something that was nice to hear. And then I'm going to ask you to pick a frustration to dialogue with about with, and we'll take it from there. So again, connect to one thing they said, something I didn't realize or something that was nice to hear.
Hated me putting everybody to sleep and you not and you being able to go to sleep peacefully. That you appreciated that was probably not easy for me.
So thank you for noticing and for sharing that.
Thank you for noticing and sharing that.
Good.
You're welcome.
And I'm glad you had the feeling of something, not being judged.
So now, Leora, I want you to think of a frustration that you'd like to dialogue with Igor about and make an appointment to say specifically what that frustration is and if now's a good time. So just take a moment to think of something, unless there's something at your fingertips.
A frustration that I have.
Mm-hmm. So I want you to make it, if you can find one, I want you to make an appointment with him.
I have a frustration to discuss with you. Is now a good time?
Yes, now's a good time.
So, Leora, I'm going to ask you to resend, if that's okay, and to be specific what that frustration is, so that because frustration is really general, and I want him to really know what he's potentially taking in, so that he can really, in real life, maybe it's not a good time, So, if you could try that again, that'd be fabulous.
I'd like to discuss you being on your phone a lot while we were with friends yesterday.
Is now a good time?
Yes, now's a good time.
And again, it's one of the things that's really important is to take that moment when we're not on camera to say, can I handle this or not? And if it's not a good time, then to say, now's not a good time. And, I need 10 minutes, I need 30 minutes, I need a few hours, and come back with a time that is a good time. So, all right, hit it, Leora. So what I mean by that is?
What I mean by that, it was hard for me yesterday that that you were I know it was I know that you were very engrossed in logos, but it was hard for me that you were so engrossed. It looked like you were engrossed with your phone. That was hard for me. I wish you had been more present last night.
So mirror that.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you were frustrated yesterday that I was spending time on my phone, looking at logos, while we were with our friends. You wished that I was more present. And I did. I spent a little time on the phone during the time that we were with our friends.
Did I get you? Is there more?
Is there more?
So what I would have liked instead?
What I would have liked instead is is maybe half the time. Maybe just if you put what I would like instead of you is if you could have reduced the time on your phone and um, and instead of waiting until your closest friend is available, I wish what I would have wanted is for you to be more present, even with the people that you were not as close to.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you wished that I was present not only when my best friend is nearby, but even with the other people who are around. I also make sure to be present.
Did I get you?
Yes.
Is there more?
Is
And
there
when-
more?
And when I saw you on your phone and not being present, I felt.
When I saw you present, I felt like I felt more pressure on me to carry on a conversation, and also I was nervous about how people would perceive you, that they would perceive you as not being considerate for being on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing you say is that by me being on the phone, you felt pressure. Now you're gonna have to kind of step up in the conversation, and also you were feeling uncomfortable how people might perceive me. That I was spending time on the phone when it was social time.
Am I getting you?
Is there more?
So this pressure, feeling of pressured, and also I'm going to make up embarrassed or self-conscious. Is that a feeling from your childhood that you felt at times?
Yeah, right.
Ask, is there more?
Yeah, I get worried how people will be affected, which is similar, I think, to the feelings I had as a child, like um, how the other people will be affected, and how they'll perceive the behavior. And I especially knew that some people might have been sensitive last night.
So you get worried about how such behavior affects people, and also that you were aware that there's some people who we were with yesterday. They might be sensitive, and they might have either been hurt or affected negatively in some way by me sort of checking out and being on my phone and not being present.
Am I getting
And,
you?
Okay. Yeah.
And so
you're moving into the validation piece. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that I think about it, like it would remind me, like that. Yeah.
So I just want to take it back one step. Leora, if we could do a redo of last night so that moving forward, it might look like something more comfortable for you. So if we could do a redo, or Igor, what I would love for you to do differently is...
What I would is if you feel like a really strong word that you needed that time, maybe you could make a preface and say like, I apologize for being rude. I have a deadline, or I maybe just to be a little more inclusive of the people around us, and to explain what's going on for you, and like just try to even while you're and either talk a little while you're looking at clothes, or you were asking opinions, but if you would be more inclusive in your like body language and manner and tone, like just connect like on an emotional level, then I think even that alone would have made it better. I understand. Yeah.
So, Paul, yeah, I just.
What I'm hearing you say, what you would have liked that I could have done different is I could have either just made a preface and told the people that were there that I have a deadline, or I just need to finish some things. I apologize that I need to disconnect from the group temporarily. And do you feel like that would have then not make it look as bad as it did?
Less bad, yeah.
It look less bad.
Or that would be better. How about that? Let's put it in the positive. Could you tell that to him that would look better?
I would have done it that way. Is there more?
And Leora, one thing I could do differently if I was experiencing that pressure or that discomfort so that I might help you be aware in a gentle way, what could you do differently? And I'm happy to suggest if it's hard for you to come up with something. So one thing I could do differently if I experience this.
One thing I could do differently feelings is maybe whispering to you the way that I'm feeling, or when there's a moment where nobody's around, maybe I can ask you, can I talk to you for a minute, take you aside and share with you like what's going on for me in a non-judgmental way.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the one thing that you could do differently if we again confront the similar situation is you could either like whisper in my ear and tell me that you would like me to either to be aware of something or to change my behavior, or you can like ask me to go aside with you for a minute and then just explain to me privately that right now it's change my behavior. Am I getting?
Okay. So ask one more time if there's more, and if not, then if Igor, you could summarize. So ask, is there more?
Any more?
Yeah. I want you to appreciate that it could be like uncomfortable for like I love your energy in conversation and your presence. So I really feel like I'm missing it when I'm like trying to have conversations with people who I'm not like good friends with, or especially if they're like the opposite gender without you.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you love my energy, especially in social settings, and if I'm not present, and therefore the energy is not going to be present, so that also just puts you into like more uncomfortable place in yourself, and you enjoy when I'm present and you feel good energy.
Yeah, I miss you when you're not.
You miss me when I'm not present in that way. Am I getting you?
Yes.
Is there more?
Is there more?
Not for now.
So Igor, that was a lot. You're not going to get every point. If you could summarize, and Leora, you'll tell him if that was a good summary, the best that he can.
What I'm hearing you say is that generally when we're in a social setting, if I disconnect, for example, by being on the phone, it reminds you of your childhood. It could trigger a memory from a childhood when you felt like you saw certain behaviors that you felt were socially not acceptable. And at the same time, you also love my energy. And if I'm not present, you also feel like you're losing out on that experience of me bringing a good energy to like when we're in social settings.
So,
Yeah.
Is that a good summary?
Yeah.
Is that a good summary?
Was there anything I missed or that you'd like to add?
Is there anything that I missed? You'd like to add?
Yeah. I also want to make sure that you appreciate the part about me feeling like uncomfortable and worried if people are gonna feel slighted, and just the discomfort of carrying on
And
without you.
and you feel I want you to. You want me to also be mindful of that. It leaves you feeling uncomfortable, and um, people might feel offended or upset, and that leaves you feel uncomfortable also.
Am I getting you? So now I'd like you to validate Igor. So something that makes sense to you about what she said.
Sorry, can we pause for 1 second?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So Igor, if you could validate something that makes sense to you from her world about what she just said. So it makes sense to me that.
It makes sense to me that by me checking out, you feel that you felt the way you did because I can imagine you were either expecting or counting on me being present. And if you love my energy, that's something you look forward to when we're in a social setting. And I check out. And so I imagine that you experience like feeling like I lost out. Like I was looking forward to having your energy be present.
And that reminds you of.
And that reminds you of, certain things about your own past. And also, I can imagine that if I check out, and then maybe there are people who are going to be offended or upset that I did that, and you're mindful of that, and so it affects you as well.
So am I getting you?
Am I getting you?
Yes, thank you. Just moments like that.
So let Igor mirror that, please.
What I'm hearing you say is that when you were a child, there are times that you felt powerless, and then you would try to find ways to compensate for that feeling.
Am I getting you? Yeah. As I got older, there was more I could do to help the situation. I would try to compensate that way.
Maybe I felt pressured, if that fits. I felt pressured to try to fix the situation, to make it better. I don't know if that fits.
Yeah.
But so there's what I'm hearing you say that when you get older, you will find ways to compensate for the situation that you wouldn't experience those feelings.
Yeah, but I guess that doesn't really go away. Meaning, in those awkward moments, I think, guys, I still have to feel what you're saying about some powerlessness, some pressure to try to fix it or try to make it better, and just a lot of like discomfort and worried how the other person is experiencing it.
So what I'm hearing you say is that even as you get older, however, you see that those feelings, like such as feeling powerlessness, didn't really go away. You just found a way to compensate.
Am I getting you?
Yeah.
Ask, are there more feelings that you can remember as a child?
There are more feelings.
I guess like shame. Yeah.
You remember feeling shame?
Yeah.
Is there more?
That's it for now.
So, thank you. So in bringing to the present, again, this is what's called a trigger, that maybe they feel and you feel awkward. Am I kind of getting you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, this is a seemingly surface thing, like, okay, so he's not present on his phone. What's the big deal? Your felt experience is, and shame is one of the most wounding feelings. And again, this is not your intention, Igor, to bring that about. And hopefully knowing about this phenomenon for her could bring you to change a little bit or do something differently. And part of what we spoke about is what each of you could do differently, because Igor can't know what Leora is experiencing and Leora can't know what Igor is experiencing. And that's where each of you have that 50% responsibility to try to be aware of this. So thank you so much for being vulnerable, Leora. And now, Igor, I'm going to ask you to dialogue about the same topic and ask her if now is a good time.
What do you mean by the same topic?
The same. So I'd like to dialogue with you about me being on the phone while we had friends over yesterday is now a good time. Just to share your felt experience of what happened so that she's aware what was going on for you. And that way, both of you know where you're coming from at the end of this session. And so I'd like to
about why yesterday when we were in a social setting, why I was on my phone. At times, I was on my phone at times. Is now the time?
So what I'm wanting you to know.
What I want you to know that part of the reason why I was on the phone some of the time is that there were some people present who I don't naturally feel like connection to, and I struggle a bit being comfortable around them. And that was the story I told myself is that was my way of politely tuning them out. Instead of walking away entirely, I told myself, oh, so maybe they'll just think, yeah, I'm still here. I didn't like reject them by saying, I'll go sit somewhere else. But at the same time, like give my emotions some out because it feels a bit overwhelming being in the presence of certain people.
So I'm going to pause you. Mirror that, Leora. Go ahead.
So your experience is that there's some people that you're having trouble connecting with. And so it was your way of like kind of like speaking from your uncomfortable feelings. You thought it would be a polite way where you could still be present in your body, but like somewhat present, but be on your phone so you wouldn't have to like connect with them. Did I get you?
Yes.
Say more?
What I also want you to get is I'm aware of this flaw, and I want to be able to find a way to still carry on an interaction even with somebody who I might not feel comfortable with. Because I believe that it's the right thing to do, it's the right way to live. But I want you to know that I'm not there yet. So when it's hard for me, I also need some sort of a way to escape, even temporarily, so that I could at least keep up with the entire event, as opposed to saying, fine, I'm just staying home, I'm not going with you to any events where I might be triggered or uncomfortable. So it was a stretch for me to go, knowing that I'm going to encounter some people, let's say, that I'm not comfortable with. So for me, it was a stretch.
I'm going to ask you to pause there. So, Mira, go ahead.
You're saying that you ideally you like to get to a place where you don't need to like escape on your phone like that, but you need to have some kind of like out until you get there. I also understand that last night it happened to you that you were also surprised, I think, by their presence. I don't think you expected it.
Did I get you?
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised. Yeah, I was a little surprised.
So, Lyra, I'm going to ask you to stay with his words for now, even though you may know him so well, but you may know to insert. So try to stick with mirroring his words, even though it's really, you may even have insight into them, if that's okay. So ask him if there's more.
Yes, I think I just what I also want you to get is that um, I am aware of the issue of just being on a device while we're in a social setting, and I just want you to know that some interactions are are harder than others, and um, that was the main reason why, for me, why I was using it. It was not because I didn't want to be present for you or to not be giving the good social energy you mentioned. It was more of that I was just going through my own internal challenge.
So mirror.
You also want to make sure I know that you're aware of this issue about being on a device in like a social setting, and that it wasn't that you wanted to hold back your energy and like make me uncomfortable, but it's just very difficult for you in that kind of a situation. So if you're I could understand and understand that you won't be able to change the kind of go to the ideal right away necessarily.
Am I getting you?
Yes.
So just, I want Lyra to understand a little bit more about what you were going through. So when I say it was an uncomfortable situation, what my felt experience, what I felt was, can you give a little bit more detail about that?
You know that I care very much about like truth and integrity, and it's very hard for me when I'm around like ideas or concepts that I feel like they either corrupt or like somehow harm truth. And
so what I was feeling was.
So what I was feeling is that I'm around people who I feel are don't are not in the same mindsets. I start feeling stifled and like uncomfortable that I either will not be able to express myself fully because something is going to be like twisted in some way. So I feel like, so why bother? Because it's just going to get twisted, or I'm going to wind up in some kind of a tension.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pause you there because I want her to get you. Go ahead. So Lyra, mirror that, please.
So what you're feeling is like being stifled or worried that a conversation will turn into tension because you're not at the same mindset. But when you're with someone who's not at the same mindset, you feel stifled about expressing expressing the truth as as you see, and you're stifled and also maybe a tension that will come out from a conversation where you disagree because you have a different mindset and you see truth in a different way. Did I get you?
Yes. Yeah.
And more? And with that feeling of stifled and not being able to express myself, does that touch a place in childhood? Did you ever feel that way growing up?
I can't think of a situation right now of something from my childhood.
Were you able to freely express yourself? That your feelings and thoughts were heard and internal, like, we want to hear everything that you have to say. Was that?
I needed to pause a little bit longer. No, so um, now that I think about it, I grew up, my childhood was spent in the former Soviet Union, and it was, um, there was a lot of control over what I could believe, what I could think. And looking back now, I think that's why the idea of truth and things having certain integrity and things having that purity, that it's not through corruption or control or like intimidation, was very important to me. So when I engage people in real conversations, if I sense that there's certain like twisting of truth going on, um, I guess it's subconsciously reminding me of what it was like when I was a kid, living in a
So
society
pause.
that.
Yeah.
So it does it does remind you of your childhood in the Soviet Union, where you were like there was a lot of intimidation and you're kind of forced to believe in certain things. The truth was kind of imposed on you. What you should think was more imposed on you. So it that's why like it feels maybe sort of stifling and you don't like to be in a conversation where you find the truth being twisted or corrupted. Did I get you?
Yes. And yes, and I also want you to get that I enjoy very much engaging in intellectual discussions where I feel that the other person is searching, just kind of going through life, humility, searching for their own meaning or truth, whatever it means to them. Because I feel that that's what I do in my own life. But when I feel that somebody comes to a conversation with certain pretenses and as if they already figured everything out, and it's just some sort of what I perceive as just corrupting or twisting my own journey to search for truth, it leaves me feeling frustrated, powerless, and I feel like I'll just be wasting my time engaging in a conversation or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So mirror that, Leora.
So when you find that someone comes to a conversation with a pretense of not really like searching for truth or searching for like in the way that you actually enjoy those kinds of debates and conversations where people are like sincerely, genuinely searching and trying to figure things out. When people come with certain pretenses, like they already figure it out, they already know, and they're not really searching. That leaves you feeling like frustrated and powerless, and and stifled. So that was on for you that I gave.
Yes.
So ask one more. Is there more?
Is there more?
Yeah. So I just finished to come back to yesterday so I want you to understand about me that I could have just said, you know what, I'm out of here and I'll just go to a different room or go to a different, place. And I still push myself to stay there. And what I want you to know is that I was sort of waiting for a moment where if I felt there was an opening for a conversation or a topic that would have allowed it to be a more genuine, real conversation, I was kind of waiting for that opening. and then I would have joined in. And that's why I didn't want to leave. I wanted to find a way to stay positive and not, and what we could say, not to happen for what unfortunately happened. Meaning, if you felt that I checked out.
So mirror that.
So that we were kind of hoping that maybe something like a topic or something would come up that would be like acceptable and would make you like uncomfortable or frustrated. Then maybe that like you're looking for some in that maybe you could kind of join or connect with.
Am I getting you? So I'm going to ask Leora to summarize if that's okay. Is there one more that you need to share, Igor, before we summarize?
So Henry, going on for you was that because when connected with certain people, it could be hard for you when you don't feel like they're as genuinely like on a journey to search for truth and to understand things like you, you could find yourself being stifled, frustrated in a conversation, or feel tension between you and the other person. So you were using the phone to avoid those feelings, and you were also hoping that maybe you could find some kind of neutral topic that you could connect with other people, while you're like maybe half listening to avoid them feeling like totally disconnected. Did I get you?
Yes.
And can you validate his perspective relating it to childhood? It makes sense to me if that fits.
I can understand that it's hard for you to engage with someone you don't think is genuinely coming to the table, versus someone who like feels like they have everything figured out.
And that reminds you of
maybe being recapturing what you should think or controlled from your childhood.
Am I getting you?
Yes, you are.
And I imagine as a child, when you felt stifled and you couldn't say what you thought or felt, you might have also felt. You're going to empathize now.
I imagine that and feel like you couldn't see what you really thought, or you were being controlled of what you should think. You felt like suffocated, powerless to express yourself. Like not your thoughts and what you think is true is not accepted, so maybe even rejected.
So is that what you felt? Is that what you felt?
Yes.
So own what you did. I did feel.
They were definitely powerless. That if I couldn't make in my mind make it work to understand why the world around me was operating the way it was, there was definitely feelings of powerlessness.
I felt powerless.
Change it. And I felt there was nobody I could find or discuss and speak out with.
So I felt alone.
Alone, felt vulnerable.
So mirror what he felt, if that's okay.
If you could confiding sometimes, and nobody understood you. You felt alone, powerless. Did I get you?
Yes, that's how I feel.
So, Igor, looking back at that situation, knowing how you feel and how I feel, what I would have loved for you, Leora, to have done differently. And then I'll ask you what you might have done differently also, so that it could address both of your felt experiences. So one thing I imagine you could have done differently looking back, or what I would love for you to do.
So, back, one thing that you could have done differently is, you mentioned earlier, you could either tell me privately so that I wouldn't feel embarrassed, just to be aware that you want me to be present. And another thing you could have done differently is, um, you could try to start a conversation or change the topic, to give me like a segue. I could then step in and I would feel like I'm in a safe space because you're helping provide a topic, as opposed to, we just sit and wait, and the people that were there bring up topics that either I don't care about, or I feel it's it's a waste of time to discuss, or there's no point. So what they're saying.
Okay, so try to mirror that, Leora.
So you feel like privately share with you how I'm feeling, and or if I could try to direct the conversation in a certain way and bring up topics that would be enjoyable or not negative for you.
Am I getting you?
Did I get you?
And Igor, one thing I could do differently that would address both what you feel and what I feel. So one thing I could do differently is,
One thing that I could do differently, from what I've heard you say so far, is, I can pause and ask you if you're okay if I take a few minutes to be on the phone, um, and that way I could check in with you, so I'll know if it's going to upset you. Then I don't want to do that.
so mirror that.
So differently is check in with you. It's okay that you're going to be on the phone, but you don't have to upset me.
Am I getting you? And one thing I might suggest is, Igor, if you're feeling, stifled or suffocated or, oppressed, that you can't express, that you could share that with Leora to say, I'm feeling a little suffocated. Do you mind if I, check out and be on my phone for a few minutes? It will help her get that you're not just trying to escape, but you're really trying to kind of self-soothe to address that deep feeling that you experience as well. So put that in your own words and send that her way, if that's okay.
I know that social settings, throughout life, we're going to be in social settings that sometimes will not feel, for me, like I want to be there, or, some people say it's not my crowd. But
so one thing I could do differently.
One thing that I could do differently, I can always approach you and tell you that here's what I'm going through. I'm feeling like I'm just feeling right now a little bit like out of my comfort zone, or I'm not, like, this is not my scene, as people say. And
Again, being specific about the feeling, I'm feeling suffocated. I'm feeling, uncomfortable.
I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling out of my comfort zone, and that I could just ask you, do you mind if I take a few minutes? I'm either gonna step outside, or I'm just gonna take a few minutes on my phone, just so that I could kind of self-soothe, so that I could then re-engage the scene, where wherever we find ourselves.
So mirror that.
So when you're in an uncomfortable situation, you might share how you're feeling, that you're feeling uncomfortable, and that it's okay to use your phone to self-soothe for some time. With each other that we engage in. Did I get you?
Yes.
Ask, is there more? Last one.
That's for now.
So I just want to take a moment to see what you're thinking or feeling before we come to the end of our time together. So Leora, what I'm thinking or feeling right now is...
What I'm thinking or feeling now is I can understand the uncomfortable feelings. But
And instead of but?
And I really hope to like to rise above depending on how uncomfortable. Like I guess like depending on the continuum of feelings, like just to be real with yourself
and share that with me if that fits.
Rise above and definitely, yeah. And I'll also just try to I feel like if you try to connect in some way, like give a preface to the people around you, not just to me, that's also helpful to everybody.
So can you try to mirror that, Igor? And she could resend it because I didn't ask you to pay close attention if you need to.
It's helpful and to people around that if I make a preface to everyone, like, oh, excuse me, I need a few minutes, I have to finish something for work or whatever it is. And you would also appreciate it if I push myself to work on rising above those thoughts and feelings, to be present.
Am I getting you?
Or do a little bit. It doesn't have to be the whole.
That I push myself to the extent I can to rise above. Am I getting you?
Yeah.
And one thing I can stretch into trying to do differently, Leora, is...
One thing I can is trying to communicate with you at the time that it's happening.
So what I'm hearing you say is one where you could stretch and to do something different is you could try to communicate with me about something that's bothering you at that time, not only afterwards. So you could let me know that. Did I get that?
So we aren't going to ask if there's more for now. Igor, as we're coming towards the end, what I'm thinking or feeling right now?
Well, what I'm feeling right now is I feel very loved and accepted. I feel like you're not judging me. You're seeing me and the flaws that I may have, and I feel like you just want to be here for me and comfort those feelings and help me grow to be better. And I appreciate that you're doing that for me.
So if you can, Leora, last mirror, go ahead. What I heard you say?
You're feeling right now like your feelings are accepted and you're not being judged. And we appreciate that you could, and even if like I see a flaw or that you still think you're not being judged and that we can together we can help each other together and overcome the flaws.
Yes.
Did I get you? So we're not going to ask if there's more. We're going to bring this to a close. And again, I really am so grateful to both of you for being so vulnerable And I hope this was helpful for you to, again, be aware of each other's felt experience, how it goes deeper, it goes to your past of those deep feelings. And can you be aware of them in your present and to communicate that to each other? So thank you so much. And we'll stop here.
Thank you.